All right, Shalom Aleichem Rabotai. Welcome to our Wednesday class on Yalkut Yosef. We are in Hilchot Keriat Shema, and today, hopefully, this is the plan. We'll make it happen. B'ezrat Hashem, we are going to finish Hilchot Keriat Shema, and then we will be facing the Hilchot of Amidah. So, assuming we will finish today, I want to announce now that you should know. Once we finish today, next week the shiur is right when I land in Israel. I'm flying Tuesday. I'm landing there Wednesday night, so we won't have a shiur on Wednesday. But that week break will give us time for what? As usual, Be'ezrat Hashem, we're going to have a test. Now, I admit, before we have a test, I have to prepare, go over it and make questions for you. So hopefully once I go back, I'll look through all the material that I have that we went through, prepare some sample questions, and then that week, Be'ezrat Hashem, we'll go over it so that 2 weeks from today, Be'ezrat Hashem, we'll meet to do a finale on Hilchot Keriat Shema, and after that, we can already begin Amidah, Be'ezrat Hashem. So it's an opportunity if any of you guys would like to have friends or anybody join us, Be'ezrat Hashem. We're starting a new topic that I think is a good topic, Amidah, that is relevant to everybody. What do we do? What's the proper way to pray Amidah? You wouldn't think there's so many alechot in Amidah, but it's really, there's a lot to learn there, Be'ezrat Hashem. I'm going to be learning it together with you. So, so many people just arrived now. I don't know if I should repeat what I just said. Shalom Aleichem, everybody. And the bottom line is, Be'ezrat Hashem, we're hoping to finish Hilchot Keriat Shema today. 2 weeks from now will be our next class. So let's dive right in. And I want to kindly ask you to remind me 5 minutes to the end or so. Maybe I'll get there by myself, but I have a couple of riddles, chidot, questions that I think is going to be interesting for us, and it's a good way of learning as well. Also, since I have so many of you here right now, Shalom Aleichem Giacomo, I want to strengthen us a little bit. What do I mean by strengthen us a little bit? For me personally, learning alechot used to be very challenging. Your heart is not drawn naturally to very dry things. You're allowed to do this, you're not allowed to do that. Usually we like agadeta, we like a story, and alechot sometimes is challenging. Having said that, the chizuk is that we are learning stuff that are the most important, halacha lemaseh. There's a famous question that Rav Ovadia was asked, if a person doesn't have enough time to learn, what's the must? What should he learn? I think I spoke about this with some of you. And Rav Ovadia said, if you only have 3 hours to learn, then you should learn halacha. Meaning only 3 hours. Right? But it means that in his eyes, halacha was at the top. Why is it called halacha? Because it's halacha lemaseh, it's lalechet, it's the way to walk. So even though we love a lot of different things, but what we're learning right now is halacha lemaseh, how to really serve Hashem the way that is required, what a Jew needs to do. So every once in a while, when I was learning halacha in the beginning, and it was very heavy for me and difficult for me, I wish I had somebody come and give me this chizuk that I'm giving you now. But we should know these are very, very big things that we're learning, even if sometimes it's a little bit more technical, let's call it like that. Very important things, a lot of noise in Shamayim from this class, I'm sure, Be'ezrat Hashem. So, Be'ezrat Hashem, Tizkor Mitzvot, let's dive right back in. Last topic that we spoke about was regarding a baby and a Brit Milah. We asked how can we say a bracha next to a baby that is naked, and we explained that Tinok doesn't have a din erva, and therefore the mohel is allowed to do the bracha. But regarding when looking specifically then at an item that when someone is, let's say, naked, usually we say ichbosh pana basidur, don't look and say the bracha. The mohel doesn't even have to do that when it's a baby, because the babies do not have a din erva, the din of the nudity. That's where we stopped. Now, regarding a face and palms and hands of a woman that is a stranger to you, all right? So if, let's say, it's not your wife, it's a stranger, you can say the berachot next to a woman's hands or face, which happens all the time. Meaning you don't have to look away from a woman if she's tsanua to say beracha. You're allowed to be looking at a woman, but there's a term that the Yalkut Yosef adds. He says, as long as you don't have kavanah to enjoy, meaning let's say she's tsanua, you just see her face, but she's a very beautiful woman, and you're staring at her because it gives you pleasure. I like looking at her. I'm not looking at anything not tsanua. I'm just looking at her face, right? If the way you're staring is a way of giving you pleasure from her beauty, then you shouldn't say a beracha while you are looking at her. All right. Last page, guys. Last page from my notes for our okay. Baruch Hashem. Now there's a famous quote, "V'hayam machanecha kadosh." This may be a good potential question for the test. What do we learn from this pasuk? "V'hayam machanecha kadosh" means that your camps should be holy. What is it referring to? The camps of Torah, which means that if a person is in a place that is impure, it has to be kedusha. He can't do stuff that have to do with kedusha, which means if someone is in the bathroom, he can't learn Torah even in his mind, not verbalizing. Now we explained the difference between a place that has a toilet and a place that's a shower. But if you are in a toilet seat or something like that, then you are not allowed to even think about Divrei Torah at any time. That's v'haya machanecha kadosh. Your camp should be holy. Now, what happens if I'm not in a bathroom, but I'm in a place where there is a bad smell? Ever happened to you? You want to do mincha, or in a group, you went to a trip somewhere, you guys are, and you're praying, and then some animals left some of their things on the floor over there. What do? It's on the grass. Is it considered a bother? Is it considered something impure? Is it like a bathroom? So the halacha says, if an animal made his poo, let's call it like that, all right? Itrachek kimlo enav. If you're standing in front of it, let's say we're praying to this direction, and a few feet before me we see something from a dog, then we should ideally move far away from it in a way that our eyes won't see it anymore. That's kimlo enav. But all of this halacha that you have to step away that your eyes can't see it anymore, it's only when it's in front of you. But if it's over here, but the Amidah east is this way, then no problem. As long as we are 4 amot, which is about 2 meters, 6, 7 feet away from that, then it's okay to pray Amidah. If it's before us, we should try to go to a place until we don't even see it, which means the smart thing to do would maybe even walk before it so that it's behind you, because even if you walk 50 feet back, you may still be able to see it. But the advice would probably be to walk forward and to pass it. But if you can't, you have to pray in a direction that it's not in front of you. So if you could pray to another direction, 4 amot would be sufficient. The 4 amot is not from the item. The 4 amot is from where the smell stops bothering you. All right? And the side, they are not considered before you, which means it doesn't have to be that I'm 100% praying straight. But if I'm praying this way and it's in front, but it's in front to the right or in front to the left, then it's okay. Only if it's like right in front of me, that would be a problem.
This only applies if there's a smell, or if there's no smell but there's poop.
Fantastic question. That's our next topic. Igal, as usual, you're one step ahead. All right. So the next topic that Yalkut Yosef brings is Soat Klavim. Lelo reach, a dog left something, but it already dried up. It doesn't have any smell. It doesn't bother us. Halacha is you're allowed to pray there. Meaning, if it's fresh, there's a problem. There's a smell. But even if you're standing right on top of it, you don't smell anything. It's old. Then he says mutar litpalel kenegda. We will be allowed to pray right before it. ואם אינו בטוח מה של צואה הולך על פי הרוב. What does that mean? He was doing a chiluk between different animals. Some are okay, some are not okay. But he said the advice is, if you don't know what animal it is, because we're not sure if this animal it dried up like this, the animal dried like that, the best way to do is to step 4 amot away from it. I wrote in parentheses something here. I have to be honest, I don't understand what I wrote for myself. So that's why I'm like a little bit stuttering here with you. But the bottom line is that if you're not sure from what animal this came out of, because some animals is okay, but some animals it's a problem even if it's not fresh, then once you step away 4 amot from the smell, you are covered. But the bottom line is, if let's say it's a usual thing, a dog or something like that, if I'm not mistaken, then the halacha is once it's dried up, we don't have a problem. Certain animals, they may even still be a problem, but I don't see what animals here he's talking about. All right. Now, maybe we'll get to it soon. Let's see. Now, we're talking about bad smells. Are we allowed to pray next to bad smells? So we learned before that we have to step away 4 amot from wherever the smell finishes. The main problem we have is with the smell. What if it's not from an animal, but it's a smell of gas or smell of, like, let's say you have a construction worker and he's putting some material on the wall. It stinks. You want to close the window. You're uncomfortable over there. Do I have an obligation to step away from that smell if I want to pray? Or no, it's not an animal. It's not something that's impure. It's just a bad smell. What's the halacha? The halacha is the dry halachas, you're not obligated to step away because there's no impurity over there. They're using a certain material to renovate or whatever it is, and that would be okay. He says midat chasidut, but if you want to be a chasid and you're extra careful, then it's okay. So step 4 amot away. The dry halacha is you're not obligated to step away. Now, another topic regarding outside issues. We have it a lot when we go to trips. By the way, my minyan in Ranana, during Corona, we had an open field, and it was an area where people a lot of the time used to walk their dogs. So this was very relevant for us because you would see over here a spot, over there a spot. How am I praying? Am I allowed to? Do I smell? Do I not smell? All these questions come up. So, Masha Masriach Mikoach Tiv'o, we just spoke about. Whatever has a natural bad smell, even though it's not from an animal. But what about a garbage can? You have big public garbage cans. Sometimes in parks, you do a day in the park with the kids, baseball field, whatever it is. There's big garbage cans, and now everybody's gathering up for a minyan. Now we're praying a minyan, and in front of us there's a public garbage can. So are we allowed to learn Torah next to it? Are we allowed to pray next to it? Halacha is that if there is a bad smell, again, the emphasis is on the smell. If there is a bad smell, we are not allowed to learn there. Even if it's closed inside a garbage, it's closed, but smell that's coming out, we have a problem. But if there is no smell, then there's a machloket. La'alacha mutar, v'tov la'achmir. If there's no smell and the garbage is closed, then we are safe. Meaning once there's a smell, everybody agrees. Even though the garbage is fully sealed, if there's a smell, you cannot pray. But if there is no smell, there's a machloket. Dry halacha is that it's mutal, but if you want to be strict, better that the garbage is not right before you while you are praying. Again, if you could take a few steps forward and then the garbage will be behind you, we solve that. So we're differentiating here between dry halacha and recommendations. But the dry halacha is if the smell is not there and you can't see it because it's sealed inside of a garbage, then you would be covered. Praying next to children. Now, this is a topic that we
I
should.
want to ask you a question. So the smell is mainly because it cannot be a distraction. You can't focus if there's a smell. That's the main reason for the smell, or there's another reason?
No, it's not. It's not because of distraction. It's because
Okay.
it's considered like you're in a impure area. You have to pray where it's kadosh. Animals doing their things over there. There's no. You can't have a kedusha in a place like that, right? That's how I understand it. At least it removes from the kedusha. Because if I'm standing above it and I start spraying it with a good smell, now there's a good smell in the room. I still would be forbidden to pray because that thing has bad smell. But we'll see. It's an interesting question because we're going to talk about that spray in a minute. So let's see. But first of all, regarding children, halacha is that we give children to put on tefillin from the age of 13. They're obligated for mitzvot. However, they say if he is able to clean himself, to keep himself clean, he could even put it on before. What is this halacha? What does it mean he's able to keep himself clean? So a child under 13, halacha considers him somebody that is not so careful to keep himself clean when he goes to the bathroom. But these are halachot. This is stuff that we need to learn. Meaning, the halacha requirement is that someone should be clean not only when he is standing up, that nothing should be dirty, but also when he is sitting down. If he would take something to clean himself, he would find nothing. That's the requirement. Meaning it should be, we're not talking about, angels that have to check inside, but anything on the surface, even while sitting down, is a problem. Now, kids, they're not always 100% careful. They do it quickly, they come, they're in, they're out. So we cannot have them put on tefillin or do a lot of other things, right? When they have that tuma on them, or that's something that doesn't allow limud of Torah. So that's why we don't tell them to put on tefillin. But having said that, if we follow this, then how do kids learn Mishnah, Gemara? We're gonna take every kid and test him and check if he's clean. So Alachai says like this: because the children have to be educated, it's called Mishum Chinuch. We want to teach Chinuch. We want to educate our children. Therefore, we are allowed to teach them Torah and Mishnayot, even if we didn't check them, and even if there's a big chance that they're not fully clean. It's still okay. But what is the term? Let's see if you already followed. What is the term? Unless there's what?
Smell.
A smell, a bad smell. Meaning if a child is not clean and he has a bad smell, that's even though it's an education and we have to teach him, no. Once there's a smell, it's out of the picture. But if it's just the dirt without the smell, since he's young and we have to educate him, then it would be allowed.
Ziv, I have a question. What if it's an adult, a child who has a medical issue? Sometimes they have bags that are attached to your leg that drain your urine or something. They're okay, they're not bedridden, but they have to have this connected to them for a few
Right.
weeks, a few months.
Right,
So
right.
you have that there next to you.
Yes. I think Rav Ovadia regards that. Rav regards that. I know definitely regarding urine. Let me look into the others, but regarding urine, if someone has a catheter, it's called in Hebrew like a bag that he has to carry with him all around. As long as there's no smell, then there is not a problem. It's considered something that is covered, and he has a condition. Yeah. All right. Where were we? Oh, so with babies, as long as there's no smell, or children, young children, even if they're a little bit dirty, it would be okay. Now, what happens if I'm, let's say, in my kitchen? The kitchen is clean, there's nothing bad over here, but my window is open, and outside a dog made something, and now the smell came into the kitchen. All right. So I'm learning Torah in the kitchen. I don't wanna close the window right now. I need air. I'm hot over here, but a bad smell is coming in. Am I allowed to take a spray and start squirting inside my kitchen so that the smell overcomes the bad smell coming from outside? It doesn't have to be an animal. It could be a gas smell or whatever, construction, as we said before. So the answer is yes. If the item is not visible to you, if it's not in your four amot, if it's not in your room, and you do something to eliminate the smell by overcoming it, then it is okay. But if the dog came into your kitchen and you're spraying until tomorrow, that's not going to help. It's in the room with you. If it's outside, if it's not in the room, and the spray overcomes it, that would be allowed. All right. Now, interesting halacha, a little bit spicy, but let's end it with the spice. This is the last written halacha. Then I have a few questions for you guys. So if someone had got married, if someone had marital relations with his wife, what happens in the morning? Is he considered now impure? Does he have to go to the mikveh? Because we see the mikvahot here in the morning, a lot of men are dipping. Is it an obligation, not an obligation? So obviously the natural tendency would be to say no, because no one told us to go, so we don't go every day, right? Or whatever it is. But let's see how it worked, how this whole process began. So it says, Kol hatmeim ksherim, כי דברי השם אש, שנאמר כל דברי אש נאום השם, ואין אש מקבלת טומאה. ככה גם התורה. What does that mean? The Torah is like fire. That's the quote. כל דברי השם אש. Hashem's words are like fire, and therefore the fire is able to burn anything. So therefore you would think that even though somebody is impure right now, don't learn Torah, you're impure, you went with your wife right now, you have to dip or whatever it is. No, the Torah is like fire and it burns through the impurity. Having said that, and this is important, there was a prophet called Ezra. You should all know the prophet Ezra. Ezra was the prophet in the time where Am Yisrael was deported, was exiled to Bavel, between the first Beit HaMikdash and the second Beit HaMikdash in those 70 years. And eventually he made different takanot for the Jews. Takanot are like different rules that he made and applied to the Jews, and hopefully pushed them back to Eretz Yisrael in the right time. So one of the takanot that he made is that a Baal Keri, somebody that either had a dream or was with his wife, etc., and now he is, he has a impurity of like that, he has to dip before he does anything that has to do with Kedusha. You have to go to the mikveh in the morning and then go pray, or mikveh and then learn Torah. But he says, but it's not because of impurity. It's not because he considers the person impure. Because as we said, that type of impurity, the fire, the Torah is like fire and it burns through it. So there's no problem. So why? Anybody have a reasoning? Why did he force everybody to go to the mikveh every morning when they were with their wives before they do Torah or tefillah? Very interesting.
Might be dirty.
So say, I hear you, dirty. Okay, so take a shower. Mikveh? Why mikveh? Use soap, whatever. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
He says like this. He says, כדי שלא יהיה מצוי אצל אשתו כתרנגול. Because if I don't put this restriction, the men are going to be like chicken. Chicken, I guess they mate a lot. They're always together. He's like, I don't want a man to be like a chicken next to his wife. If you don't put any restrictions on him, he'll do it day and night, and when is he going to come to the Bet Midrash? So we told him, it's a little hard for you. Now before tefillah, you got to go dip. Before you learn Torah, you got to go dip. He'll think twice. Okay, let's cut down a little bit. That was the reasoning behind the takana of Ezra Sofer. But the Rambam says, Moshe ben Maimon, that this takana is not a takana that's spread around Israel. Some takanot were spread. For example, he was metaken that we have to read on Mondays and on Thursdays the Torah so that we don't go 3 days without learning Torah. This didn't exist before. Ezra was metaken. Everybody accepted it. 2,000 years later, until today, we're still doing that. Says the Rambam, but this takana of dipping after someone being with his wife, that's one of the takanot that did not spread, that not everybody accepted, and therefore the halacha is not like that. So if somebody says, do I have to go? Mutarim lachem, mutarim lachem. You're allowed to, no need to go. However, says Rav Ovadia, that even if you want to be strict upon yourself and say, no, I want to do what the takana of Ezra required from me, Rav Ovadia said that even a shower would be sufficient, that you pour on top of yourselves 12.5 liters. That's basically like 2-3 minutes standing under the water. According to Rav Ovadia, now I know a lot of Hasidim are not going to agree with this, but at least according to Rav Ovadia, he says since the chiyuv, the obligation of dipping in a mikvah, was never from the Torah. The only time some opinion says that dipping in the mikvah is from the Torah is for Yom Kippur. And that's also, it's not agreed upon everybody. But everybody agrees that the everyday mikvah, if someone goes, even if you want to say that Ezra was metaken, it's not an obligation from the Torah, it's just from Chachamim. And says, since it's only from Chachamim, then even if you want to be strict, the halacha is not like that. But if you want to be strict, it would be sufficient to just take a shower as well. All right, that was the written Torah. Now a little bit oral Torah. I heard an interesting shiur last night about Yalkut Keriat Shema, and I thought these are a couple of topics that we should give some attention. So can I ask you guys a question and see what you think? This is halacha. If someone is in Berachot Keriat Shema right now, let's say, right, we say Shtabach, then we say Yotzer HaMeorot, Ahavat Olam. Now he got distracted. He got distracted right before Shema Yisrael, and when he went back to his Siddur, the page moved, and he's like, I don't remember who I am. Did I say Yotzer HaMeorot? Did I say Ahavat Olam? Where am I holding? Where am I holding? So what would be the halacha? Does he have to go back to the first beracha, or should he continue from where he has the doubt? Meaning, let's say there's a word that appears in the first beracha and in the second beracha. Now he's on that word. Did I say it? And am I in the first beracha or the second beracha? You get the question? What does he have to do? Can he continue or does he have to go back? Anybody want to try?
I say he continues.
I also say it continues.
I think we continue.
I hope we're right.
You remember.
Fantastic. Hold that thought. I'm going to ask you another question now. A person is in Amidah, all right? He is in Amidah in Shemona Esrei, and there's some brachot have same words, like in Lamilim, Ubimera, whatever, there's Ubimera. He says Ubimera, he's like, am I in the first bracha that says Ubimera, or am I 3 brachot forward? What does he do? Does he continue from bracha, let's say number 7, or does he go back to bracha number 4? He doesn't know where he is. What would be halacha then?
I would say continue.
Yigal continues with the first opinion that he said before.
I would say if you use the logic that from the Torah you have to, if you have a doubt, you say it, and from the Rabbanim, the then you don't say it, then you have to continue.
Very nice. Simon, you concur?
I concur, absolutely.
Okay, so very nice. So there's a reason why I brought this question, is because we have to know that there is a difference between Berachot Keriat Shema and Amidah. Regarding Berachot Keriat Shema, you are right. If I have a doubt where I am, Safek Berachot Le'akel. Nothing will happen if I miss the first beracha. Let's say I'm making a mistake. I still didn't say the first beracha. Nothing happened. So I missed it. I'm continuing to the second one. The brachot lo me'akvot. That means that one bracha doesn't hold me back from the other. I'm allowed to just read the second bracha, even if I didn't read the first one. No problem. But with Amidah, we should know the halacha is different. Halacha is, if you have a doubt if you're in bracha number 4, number 7, go to number 4. But why? I may be reading 5, 6, and 7, and it's bracha levatala. This is from Chachamim. Amidah is from Chachamim. Safek berachot le'akel. Why do you tell me to go back to 4? Let me continue from bracha number 7. You know what the answer is? Because the brachot are dependent one on each other, which means if I continued from 7 and I was wrong, bracha number 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, until 18, they're all going to be bracha levatala. They're all going to be bracha levatala because they're dependent on the beginning. It's one entity, the Amidah. So once I miss one, I have to go back to the first place that I may be in right now. That's the difference between Amidah and other places. In most places,
Sorry, what about if you are confused and you're worried, should you go back and start the Amidah from the beginning?
Okay, confused and worried. I'm not sure where
No,
are
but
you?
maybe I said the second beracha instead of the fourth one. What you say happened to me. I went and I started from the beginning.
Okay. So if you have so the Amidah is divided into the first three, the last three, and the middle parts.
Yes.
The first three are one entity, which means if you have any doubt about the first three, you go back to the beginning, right? In the second part, where you have like 12, 13 brachot, if you have a doubt over there where you are, also you go back to the first place that you're sure 100% that you said. But you're asking if you even have a doubt from the first one or two, then you go back to the beginning. Any entity that you're in, if you have a doubt, you go back to the beginning of it.
Oh, wow.
Of it. Okay.
Of it, okay?
Interesting.
Thank you.
Very good. So that was the first question, right? Nicely done. Now, hopefully this doesn't happen to us, but sometimes people are late. You go into Tefilat Arvit, and now the Chazan is saying, Baruch Ata Hashem Ga'al Yisrael, and he starts to pray Amidah. What is the right thing for me to do? Should I join him right away with Amidah? Or should I say, no, Berachot Keriat Shema, Shema Yisrael, and I'll meet him. I'll be a little later than him, but I should read it according to the order. What do you say?
Where are
Join
you
him.
up to in the tefillah?
I didn't start yet. They are starting Amidah right now. Baruch Ata Hashem Ga'al Yisrael, and they all say Hashem Sefatai Tiftach. They're praying Amidah Arvit. There's not going to be a repetition. There's one
Go from the
Amidah.
beginning. Go from the beginning.
Join him and then do Shema after.
Oh, so we got two opinions. Fantastic. So
Wow.
one of you for sure is right. So, but this is not just what I want. I want a reason.
Kedusha we have to say. The Kedusha we have to say. The Kedusha of the Kadosh, Kadosh, Kadosh.
Okay, but
Even if we are late.
first of all, you're saying something very true. In Arvit, we don't really have the Kadosh, 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 though, right? That's
You're
have-
right. You're right.
right.
Yes.
In Mincha, you have Chazarat Hashatz, you have a Nakdishach and that. So we'll touch that in a second. So it goes like this. If they are going to finish Alenu Leshabeach, and I'm still going to be in Amidah because I started late, so let's say I started with them. I said, no, I want to complete the whole tefillah. So I go to Yotzer Shema Yisrael, and I continue praying. I want to read it according to the order. Just so you know, this is important halacha. If I met them while they're still in Amidah, let's say they're in Modim, I start Magen Avraham, even though they're finishing and I'm starting, it's considered tefillah b'minyan. I prayed in a minyan. You walk into a minyan, they're in Modim Anachulach, you start Hashem Sevatai Tiftach, you're praying in a minyan. 100%, no problem. You started while they're still praying. But what is the problem here? That if I do that, when they say the Kaddish and then Shir LaMalot and another Kaddish, I'm going to miss those Kaddishim. So the question is, what is more important? To pray in a minyan or the Kaddishim? If I go with minyan, so I'm going to miss the Kaddishim because I'm starting, meaning if I go according to the order, I'm going to miss the Kaddishim because I want to pray according to the order. So I'll be in the middle. So what's more important? Rabotai, I was very surprised by this answer, but the answer is wait. Wait until they finish. If they're in Modim Anachnu Lach, you cannot start Amidah. You should wait until they finish. Hear the two Kaddishim, let them say Alenu Leshabach, and then begin your Amidah. Oh, what are you saying? It's not going to be considered Tefillah b'minyan. I came here to pray in a minyan. You know what the answer is? You're right. No minyan. But answering Amen Yeheh Shemei Rabbah, answering Kaddish is greater than a minyan. Answering Kaddish is greater than minyan. This gives us some perspective. Chazan sometimes is saying Kaddish. Everybody feels very comfortable to chat. Everybody see people chat in the middle of Amidah. You would think they're great. Kaddish halachically has a higher level of Amidah. Same thing with Kedusha. If I'm going to start praying, let's say in Mincha, and then when he's going to do Chazara, I'm going to miss the Kedusha. But I want to pray while they're still praying. I want to be considered a Amidah. No. It's better you miss the Minyan, but you don't miss the Kedusha. Kaddish and Kedusha have a higher level than praying in a Minyan. I'm sorry, I went over time. So, okay, maybe the last question I'll say for them. We had overtime.
But Arvit, I understand that they would miss the Kaddish, but in like Shacharit, especially on like a Monday and Thursday where there's such a long Tachanun, someone that if they're in Modim and the person starts Amidah, he's not gonna miss the Kaddish.
Right, but he may miss the kedusha, right?
But
You get what I'm
he.
saying?
Oh, so you're saying the
But in
Kedusha.
Shacharit, we have a good solution. Since there's okay, so I'll say the last thing. Since we have a chazara, he should wait and he should start saying the chazara together with the chazan,
And do
word
the
for
Kaddish.
word, word for word. When he gets to kedusha, he says with him kedusha fully. Listen to this. When he gets with him to Birkat Kohanim, he stops. He answers for Amen in the middle of Amidah. Levarech et amo Yisrael be'ahava. He says Amen. You're in the middle of Amidah. He answers Amen. And then they say Varecha Hashem v'shmerecha. He answers Amen. And then Oseh Shalom. He says with the Chazan. The Chazan finishes. He says Elokai Netzo. That's a tefillah b'minyan lekatchila. Top of the line. Don't think I didn't pray with a minyan. I only prayed with the Chazan. That's considered 100% a minyan. And you also gain the kedusha. You gain the Birkat Kohanim. So if you are late like that, that would be the most advised to do. That way you cover.
So Ziv, I usually do this for the Kedusha. I didn't know that in the middle of the Amidah, you can also say Amen if there's an Akdisha.
Listen, I'm also learning
In the Kohanim. Wow, in the Kohanim.
In the Kohanim. But only Amen. No Baruch Hu Baruch Shemo.
Yeah.
The 4 Amenim and the Kedusha fully. And that's a minyan. You didn't miss the
Also
Kedusha.
Kedusha?
You put in a minyan.
Also, when is the repetition of the Amidah? Sometimes I'm late. Okay.
Mhm.
So they get to the Kedusha and the repetition. I just stay quiet. I don't say Amen. I don't say anything until I finish my Amidah after the Kedusha. Is that wrong?
If you are not with them, then the halacha says that you stay quiet and you have in mind to be that the chazan is motzi you yedei chova. But if you're not, if you're with him, you could also read the kedusha. If you started chazara with him, then you could read the kedusha. If you're not with him, you cannot say anything. You cannot do anything, unless you already said the last beracha, but you still didn't do oseh shalom bimromav. If I'm already at Elokai netzor leshoni mera, I said Amvarech et amo Yisrael b'shalom, amen. And now, from that moment, I'm allowed to answer Kedusha, but also not the full Kedusha, only the 2 parts in the middle. The Kadosh, 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 I don't say. The Baruch Hashem, Kvod Mimkomo. The middle 2 we say, but we learned this in the past. But the first one and the last part, they're not essential parts of the Kedusha. They're not needed. The first middle parts, then you would be able to answer. But again, to answer your question, if you started with him, you could say everything. If you're not with him and you're not exactly at the end of Amidah, which is usually the cases, you keep quietly and have kavanah. Rabbanim are saying
When you say when you start, you mean the first time, not the repetition.
either time. Even if you are starting while he's starting the repetition, start with him. It's like you prayed in a minyan.
Okay.
But he's the only one saying it. Him and you, both of you are considered a minyan right now. No problem. Okay.
So Ziv, back to Arvit. You walk
No
in.
questions.
They said Shema. They said Shema already, but now he's starting Amidah. I say Amidah with him and then do Shema later, right?
You have to calculate, will I be missing the Kaddish Titkabal that he says when he finishes his Amidah? That's the number 1 priority you should have, which means if I'm worried I'll miss that, wait. But if I know I'm fast or I'll make it on time for that Kaddish, no problem. Do whatever you want just so that you don't miss that, because that is the most important thing in the Bet Knesset right now, to be able to answer the Kaddish.
Got it.
And
Okay, thank you.
that's the number 1 thing, answering the Kaddish. Have that in mind. All right, Rabotai.
We learned a lot today. Thank you.
Thank you.
As I said in the beginning, to those that didn't hear, next week I'll be on a flight back to Israel, or at least landing in Israel. But in 2 weeks from now, we will be meeting for a final test on all the halachot that we've learned in the last few months. This is the third volume of Yalkut Yosef. We are finishing it, and the next volume is already the volume of Amidah Be'ezrat Hashem.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Safe travels.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye. Zag Baruch.